YouTube. You know the vibes. We back again with part two, numero dos of the Moon Knight review, Puti review, Wellington. You know what I mean? I brought my man LuNievesJr. back, Mr. Landmine himself. Let's get this money. Lou, say hello to the peoples.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two, the final part of the 6 episodes. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
All right, we good. Listen, if you guys do not follow us on our social medias and all that good stuff, all that will be in the description down below. Make sure you go and do that. Help us brothers out. You know what I mean? So we're going to get straight into it because Lou hates everything and he's going to shit on the entire series right now. Me, on the contrary, I loved it. So spoilers ahead. We're going to talk about everything. All spoils. Yeah. All right? So if you have not watched the series yet and don't want it to be spoiled for you, get up out of here. All right?
They should have watched it by now. It's been 2 weeks. I know,
but you know what I'm saying? Some people be late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So we're going to go straight off into episode 4, which is your favorite episode, Lou. Go ahead and give your thoughts. All right?
Episode 4, it started off weird, right? Because they get to one of the pyramids, I think, that they're looking for, or not even pyramids. They get to one of the places that they suspect this tomb is at. And there's a conversation between not Mark, Steve, right? Stephen Grant and I forgot her name, Layla.
I'm over here dying too.
So they have like this conversation, and then it leads into a kiss, and it felt awkward. Like that was very awkward to me. So it started off weird, and then you had Indiana Jones type kind of thing where there's booby traps, and you know they're discovering things, and it was like, oh, this is boring. But when things start to pick up is literally towards the middle endish episode of the episode, and that's when Steven / Mark gets shot. And he goes into, I don't know, I don't know what to call it, but it's like a psych ward hospital, but he's dead, but he's still not. And that's when everything started picking up for me. And that's when I was like, okay, let's get into the whole idea of this split personality. Where does it come from? And that was very intriguing, especially even at the end when we get the surprise where they come back together, both Steven and Mark, and they hug each other for the first time. And it's weird because throughout the first 3 episodes,
that's not in this episode, man.
Yeah, it is. They hug each other.
No, you're right. My fault.
Don't tell me.
My fault, bro.
Then they walk past a tomb that's shaking, which leaves everyone in question. And then, boom, they run into hippopotamus. And then this episode ends. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. And that's where I was excited for the most. So what about you, Chris?
I like this episode because, I mean, obviously they're building out the story between him and Harrow. Harrow's been looking for Amit's tomb the entire time. And this is where they found, where you're saying they met is where they believe Amit's tomb was.
Yes.
And it was basically the tomb of Alexander the Great. And he was basically her, what's it called? I forgot what they call them. Like
Avatar.
Yeah, he was Amit's avatar before they turned her into stone. Which is why they were led there. And then, you know, Steve, you know, they had the little romantic stuff. And I told you he liked her. And you didn't believe me. All right.
Well, if you looked at episode 3, it didn't seem that way.
True. But he liked her. Okay. They kissed. It was a little awkward because, you know, Steve is a little innocent, childlike character. But then they get shot. And that whole sequence where you were confused, but weren't confused at the same time because you were like, what the hell's going on? But like,
we also learned where this name Stephen Grant came from. It was like that fake
movie and
shit.
And not a fake movie. It was a real movie.
Yeah, I know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Like, that's where the character
came from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And then them meeting Towerit, like the goddess of life, which is the hippopotamus. Was super funny because you expected, like, the way they introduced her was like she was kind of scary. And then she came in and was like, hey guys, what's going on? Me? Like super sweet, and then they still scream anyways.
Yeah.
Overall though, I enjoyed the episode. I like the way they were setting up the is this all real, or is this a fake situation that he's made up in his mind? Like they really drove that point on that he really had a mental illness, crazy, and he was actually dead. They said he was dead, and you know what I'm saying. So keep it going. Episode 5, Wellington. I'll start it off, I guess. So this is when, you know, after they introduced Hippo, Tower it, or whatever, however you pronounce her name. She takes them on a ship, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, and they were going.
Yeah, they were in the Reeds or something like that.
I like how they explained how it's a afterlife, not the afterlife. So they have other afterlives. They mentioned the afterlife that was in Black Panther as well. You know, the
and
astral
Thor
plane.
had one too.
Yeah, they have the astral plane, all these kind of different situations where it's different afterlife. There's not necessarily just one. It kind of just depends what you believe in the MCU universe, which is dope to me. What's it called? And then them not having balance because they are pretty much 2 in 1 throughout the entire episode, where they're going through their memories and Steven finally realizing how he came to be, how he was technically created in Mark's brain, where Mark, he's still Mark, but in his brain, he's a different person because that was his getaway from the reality of the situation where his mom was super mean and blamed him for his brother's death and all this kind of stuff. I know you hated this episode. So the way it ended was super dope to me, where you finally see Steven kind of step up and actually fight for something instead of being a coward. You know, every other episode, he's kind of just been like, all right, Mark, you take over the fight. Good luck. And this one,
he noticing like, I am you, so I have that in me.
So he basically took the sacrifice play and jumped into the sand and turned into a thing of stone or whatever.
Well, I don't think he jumped into this thing. He fell off the boat
he was protecting Mark, right? But then when he dropped and became stone, the heart was finally full because it was
then the scales got balanced.
Right. And that's when you see the beautiful afterlife that awaited Mark. So
it kind of reminded you of Thanos in the ending of Infinity War.
Yep. So go ahead with your thoughts on this episode 5. I know you disliked it a lot.
So this was mostly everyone's favorite episode because it story to Mark and his childhood and how Stephen Grant came to be. And it was interesting because it did give us a little bit of backstory, but I felt like this didn't need a full episode, in my opinion. For the most part, the show at this point, this is episode 5. There's only 6 episodes. It has been lackluster as far as entertainment goes and action. It's called MoonKnight, and I know that they're developing the character by giving it some backstory and letting you understand who this character is. I think this could have been better off in a movie more so than a show, because I felt like a lot of it was filler. So when they do the introduction of him as a child and seeing everything going into the cave and then potentially having his brother die, well, not potentially, his brother does die, his younger brother, he's then blamed for it. Like Chris was saying, his mother shows that she's not grieving with it well. She's taking out on him, blaming him, drinking and all this stuff. And then we don't get to see it, but you felt it where he gets beat. And before that happens, the child, I don't know who the actor's name was, but he played a really good role in that sequence where he then changes into Steven. He changes the personality, the accent changes, and it's like he's escaping his reality, so to speak, and allowing someone else to take that. Then fast forward, you get the scene where Mark is outside of his mom's funeral when his mom dies, and he doesn't walk in. His dad is there. He's like, come inside. He's like, no. He walks away, starts drinking, and then boom, he jumps into Steven and he starts talking to her, knowing now that we know she's not alive. That was interesting because in our eyes, we assumed that his mom had passed, but now we know it's really him pretending. And then he realizes, like, I've been doing this play back and forth for so long. That was interesting, but it wasn't entertaining for me as much because it was it was 45 minutes of explanation, and I really didn't need that. You could have gave us these flashbacks some way, somehow throughout the 4 episodes. So that was why I disliked it.
I understand that, because you were expecting something. I think you were expecting something a little bit different out of
Oh, the whole series,
the whole series, which I get. I understand that. Especially because you just found out about the character recently.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a character that you knew.
Yeah, and this is why you are biased.
Yeah, I guess I can admit when I'm biased. I enjoyed it because it was, first of all, it was cool to see one of my favorite characters on a screen. You know what I mean? Like I would have never thought that Moon Knight would have even been brought to the limelight at all, to be honest with you. He's one of those characters that's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
So the fact that they even did this was crazy to me, and I enjoyed it. And that scene you're talking about where he switched into Steven was basically where the show kind of started, because before that he never really turned into Steven.
Yeah.
He was mostly Mark, just a mercenary, all this kind of stuff. But because of his mom's funeral, I think they said it was like 3 weeks before he ended up where he was in the first episode.
Yeah.
He was kind of switching back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
So now we could go into the finale episode where it starts off pretty much where the last episode left off, where he's like, no, I got to go back and save Steven. So you could go ahead, give your thoughts on this finale episode and what you felt about that.
So the finale was good. There were good things and bad things. I would say the bad things from the last episode was the pacing, the CGI, and some of the fighting scenes where, again, I've been upset from episode 1 where you see it sporadically throughout the episodes where he like blanks out, but we don't see what happens. He blanks out, wakes up, everybody's fucking dead or hurt. And that was just the idea of the third personality, because it happens mid episode where Steven goes to Mark like, what did you do? He's like, I didn't do it. Did you do it? He's like, no, I didn't do it. And then what's her name? Layla. Wonder Woman, she's like, what did you do? He's like, I didn't do anything. So that confirmed that there was a third personality. Of course, Chris knows about this because it's in the comic books, and we were just all waiting for that to happen. Like, I thought this was the moment where he comes out and we see him bust everyone's ass, and that did not happen. That was disappointing. And then seeing the fucking big lizard and the big bird fighting each other like King Kong and Godzilla, and nobody sees this, that shit was fucking dumb. But the highlights were when both Steven and Mark are fighting and they're switching back and forth, where the camera will pan and then you see one person, camera pans again, you see the other person. That shit was fire, and that's what I was waiting for. And I know we had to build up to get to this moment, but that particular scene there was like, this is what I waited for, and I'm glad we got to see it, but it just wasn't enough of it. It was very quick, and again, it was just leading up to that. It was a little bit of a slow burn, because he comes back to life, and then what's the hippo's name? She gives her like Tower. She gives her like her body, like she becomes
Layla becomes her avatar.
Becomes her. Yeah, I'm sorry, I had it backwards. Layla becomes her, and she has a dope fucking costume, bro. That shit was fire. It gave me, Wonder Woman 2 vibes, 1984, even though that movie sucked, but this looked awesome. It looked great, yeah. And even her fighting was fire,
first Egyptian
bro.
Superhero in the MCU.
Yeah, I loved it, and it was just. It was a battle for me, but it was so much more entertaining for me than it was for episode 5. And this is what I wanted the entire time. You see Harold, like, his cane changes. He has more power. More people are under that spell where he's taking souls. And it was pretty intense. And I was like, and we'll talk about the end credits, but I was like, you have to give us a season 2. You can't just leave us like this. I need to see this guy meet up with other people, such as Blade or anything like that in the future, after doing my research. And I wanted more. And that's what this show made me do, is like, you didn't give me enough. I want more. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's I don't know. And if they do a season 2, will I watch? Yeah, because I want to know what happens next. But if they didn't give me a season 2, I wouldn't care.
That makes sense. I can understand that. I know they did it as a limited series. Yeah. I do want them to give us a season 2 because of the way they introduced the last character, which we'll talk about after I give my thoughts on the entire episode. So like you said, I think the way they went about it, where bringing him back and him and Mark being able to switch, where he kind of accepted, like, all right, this is me, this is us, we're a package deal now. Where he was switching back and forth, not even in just the action sequences, just in the talking sequences when he meets up with Layla. They're like, oh yeah, oh you look very beautiful today. All right, that's enough. Like the whole switch and the acting to me throughout this entire series, regardless of whether you liked everything or not, Oscar Isaac did a phenomenal job.
We mentioned that last year.
Portraying somebody with a mental illness and
the
accents, the switching in between. It was just so freaking good the way he did
an amazing job.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, they all did amazing.
I think my biggest issue with this episode was the fact that everybody else got a cool costume, but then Harrow, even though he became her avatar, didn't get a costume.
Nothing. Yeah, like, just like the cane.
Right. It's like, all right, thanks, I guess. But the fighting was pretty dope. Obviously, when Jake comes, they can't show it because it's too gruesome, it's too bloody. At least that's what they were giving off, which is why every time Jake's been there since the beginning of the series. Pretty much anytime that blackout scene happened, it was never Mark, it was always Jake.
Where and it wasn't Steven even, obviously.
Right. So it was always Jake, and there was always blood involved when it was Jake. No matter what, Jake was over here slicing and dicing, you know what I'm saying, out here. I do think the CGI wasn't that great with the, Mecha Godzilla fight.
Trash.
And when the hell,
or even them running like up and down against the pyramid when they're chasing each other.
Yeah. I did like the flying scene though.
That was cool. It was cheesy, like but it was cool. Scene. It was like, it goes right into the moon. You see a little bit of the moon, and then
gone.
Which one was better, the Batman flying? Or this flying?
This was a better scene as far as flying goes. Batman flying looked crazy.
He hurt his ass too. He got up and walked away
with the GoPro. Like the only issue I had with the Godzilla fight, like it was cool, but I liked when they fought when they were regular sized. Like they were already they were already bigger than everybody, and they had a nice little fight beforehand. But then what happened where first of all, I know she was collecting souls, so she got bigger. But then where the hell did Khonshu get bigger from? Like, that's I was like, huh? I was like, when can Khonshu do this? So they're just having a monster fight by a pyramid. Just going crazy.
Like that.
And Jake ended up smoking everybody and their mother on that one part, including Harrow. Overall, I enjoyed the season. I thought it was a solid season. I hope there is a season 2. The end credit scene gave me a lot of hope, so we'll talk about that right now. They finally introduced the third identity of Mark, right? So the way they ended it was Khonshu basically saying, oh yeah, I'll let you guys go, talking to Mark and Steven. And Khonshu, if you know him in the comics, he's a con artist. He's not really letting them go. This is him in his fullness. So he's like, oh yeah, great. I'll let you go, but I still got your other one. You know what I'm saying? You're still here regardless, right? And then the way they even introduced Harrow in the scene was dope, where now he has no powers, so he's back to being kind of disabled. He's in a wheelchair. He's barely talking, blah, blah, blah. And he's still her avatar, so he can see certain things that obviously the naked eye can't see.
Yeah.
And then just the subtle walk by where the nurse is dead and there's blood on the floor. It's like, wait, what the hell's going on? Boom, brings him into the little limousine with the Spectre on the front, showing that Mark got the money. Got the money. Mark Spectre got the money. So, I mean, it is comic book accurate where Mark has the money.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that's pretty much different is Steven is the only one that's kind of different from the comics, where he's kind of like innocent, childlike. But I like that they did that. And then Jake was pretty much the same. The driver, with
the hat and everything.
I'm gonna kill everything, right? So did the little turnaround, spoke in Spanish, hit him with the pew pew. You know what I'm saying?
It
I
was a
like
couple shots. It wasn't even one or two.
yeah, no, he made
He
sure
like let the whole clip off.
he made sure he was dead. He made sure he was
Yeah.
dead. But yeah, so overall, what are your Puti Fritos out of 10 for the entire the last 3 episodes of the series overall, pretty
Okay, so as far as the last three, I'll probably do a 6, right? 6 Puti Fritos, but overall, I want to give it a 7.
much. Okay.
From episode 1 to episode 6, I thought this had a lot of potential. There was a lot of good moments. I would say more bad moments than good. And like I said before, if they have a season 2, I'm gonna watch it because I'm interested. But if they don't come back, I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah,
You're fine.
I'm not looking forward to it, but if it happens, I'm there for it. So I think overall, I think they did an amazing job. I think anytime Conchu was on screen, he stole the fucking
Amazing.
show. And then like you said, Oscar Isaac is just incredible, man. I am so happy with the actor choice for this role. He did an amazing job.
Yep. So for me, these last couple episodes, I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10 Puti Fritos. Overall
Okay.
show, I'm going with an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so we're not too off.
Yeah, not too off. I think it was a solid show, a solid introduction to a character that a lot of people do not know. And I think it's gonna make people go look into his character and see how he interacts with other characters. I mean, I would love to see him in other people's movies, other shows.
Yeah, that's what I want.
If it's possible. Yeah. But I know Oscar didn't sign on for that. I know he signed on for just this series and that was it. But hopefully he enjoyed it enough and wants to come back for more because he smokes this role so well. And even if it doesn't feel connected to the MCU, I was okay with that. I think that was a lot of people's issue too. It didn't feel connected at all. It felt like its own entity and was just kind of.
And it should, because if it did connect, it'll be weird.
Right. Because most of the characters that he's connected to aren't even in the MCU yet. So it would be weird just to throw them in there like, oh hey, look, you know. But yeah, that's it for this episode. You know what I'm saying? The season's over, so it's part 2 of 2. You know what I'm saying? And we out of here. You guys know the vibes. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, and we out of here. Hey,
Peace.